So, you're thinking about moving to Charleston, South Carolina, and are wondering where to live when you get to town, but right now you just don't know what area is going to be best to suit your needs. Well, in this video, I'm going to help you get oriented and show you around Charleston and the different suburbs through a bird's eye view of our beautiful city. Usually the first thing you do when you visit or move anywhere is try to get your bearings, so stick around and I'm going to help you do just that. By the end of this video, you'll have a good feel for all of the different locations and suburbs, what's nearby, how far are they from the airport, what's closest to the beach, and all that good stuff, so that you can start to narrow down where in town may be the best fit for you. So let's go. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything about living in Charleston, South Carolina, then subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about all things Charleston. My name is Sarah Newman and I'm a realtor in Charleston with eXp Realty, and I get calls and emails all the time from people just like you who are looking for help while making their move to Charleston, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. All the information you need is in the description below, and I'd be thrilled to help you make your smooth move to Charleston. All right, so today I'm going to be giving you a tour through the lens of Google Maps, so let's go ahead and jump inside the computer. Okay, so we're gonna start super zoomed out here just so you can get a feel for where Charleston is. We are in the southeastern part of South Carolina. You can see on the map here that Savannah is right down here. We're about a 2-hour drive from Savannah, and then to our north is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and that is also about a 2-hour drive. All right, so here we are on the map, and as you can see, Charleston is in this southeastern coast side of South Carolina. We are about 2 hours north of Savannah, Georgia, right here, and then about 2 hours south of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, right there. The easiest way to get here, if you're driving, is from Interstate 95. So those of you on the East Coast know that this goes all the way up and down the East Coast. And then from 95, you get on Highway 26 here, and that comes all the way east into Charleston. So that would be if you're driving and from somewhere else in the country, but if you're coming along the coast from either Savannah or from Myrtle Beach, you could also just come down Route 17 or come up Route 17 this way. So those are your main access points to Charleston. Of course, we have an airport here. It's called Charleston International Airport, though I really don't know why, because to my knowledge, we don't have any international flights. So if you've ever flown anywhere internationally to or from Charleston, please let me know, because I'm not aware of any direct flights anywhere, but for some reason it's still Charleston International. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in here. Now, when most people think of Charleston, they think of this area right here. This is the Peninsula. This is downtown Charleston. So when you have visions in your mind like Rainbow Row, old historic homes, Pineapple Fountain, Waterfront Park, museums, restaurants, a lot of that is going to be in downtown Charleston. If you've been here to visit before, this is likely where you spent the majority of your time. Downtown Charleston is home to over 1,400 historic structures. It's one of the oldest places in the whole country. After all, we were one of the original 13 colonies, so we just have some amazing architecture and homes in this downtown part of Charleston. So if you are coming to town, definitely make sure to check that out, because it's just a super unique thing that Charleston has that most places in our country don't have. So as you can see, there are tons of waterways here in Charleston. We have the Ashley River on one side of the peninsula, and then this is the Cooper River here going up the other side of the peninsula. We also have the Stono River over here by Johns Island, and then all of these other blue waterways here are creeks and what we'll call marsh here. It's actually called the Intercoastal Waterway. The ICW is a lot of these just small inlets. They actually go up and down a large part of this part of the coast here. And then this, of course, in the screen to this way is the Atlantic Ocean. So if you love water, you're in the right place because there is no shortage of boating activities, kayaking, and just overall tons of outdoor activities. Obviously, the beach, surfing, parasailing, kite surfing, just so much that you can do outside here most of the year in Charleston, which is one of my favorite things about it. Now, we are called the Low Country for a reason. A lot of our places here in Charleston are below sea level, so flooding is something that you may not be used to depending on where you're coming from. I have a whole another video that I'll link up here that is all about the pros and cons of Charleston. So flooding would be one of the cons, but everywhere you live is going to have some pros and cons, right? So still think Charleston is just one of the best places in the country. Now we're zoomed into the Peninsula here, downtown Charleston. Depending where you're at in downtown, it's going to be about 20 to 25 minutes to the airport. Now that's without traffic. Just keep in mind all of the times that I quote in this video are going to be without traffic. We do have pretty bad traffic around here at certain times of day, depending on which direction you're heading. So keep that in mind. But downtown is really not too far from the airport if you can plan it to go maybe outside of the afternoon rush hour window. Now, if you were having images conjured up in your mind earlier when I was talking about downtown Charleston, it was likely this area here in the southern part of the peninsula. Just gonna do sort of like a rough drawing here of the historic section. So this is the French Quarter. This is the Charleston City Market. Down here is Waterfront Park and the Battery. So I'm going to do a whole nother video soon breaking down the different parts of downtown Charleston in detail. This is just meant to be an overview of the entire greater Charleston area, Charleston County, Berkeley County, and Dorchester County, which are our three counties here in Charleston. So this area here is going to be a lot of commercial places, restaurants, shopping, as well as some residential and tons of hotels. The residential here is super high end. Think about it. Some of these homes are hundreds of years old and they go for many millions of dollars. There are other parts of downtown though that are a little bit more affordable. They still have gone up a ton in recent years. So relatively speaking, they're a lot more than they were, say, 10 years ago, because now they're the really cool places to be. There's a lot of younger families and just young people that have moved to these parts of downtown. So specifically, we've got Wagner Terrace right here. This is such a cute part of town. It's right next to Hampton Park, which is this huge park. It's the biggest park downtown, tons of walking trails, cycling paths. It's also very close to the Citadel, which isn't here pictured, but the Citadel is a big military academy here. MUSC, the Medical University of South Carolina, is also a hospital and college downtown. And then we have the College of Charleston. So there's a lot of student activity here in downtown Charleston. This area up here is called NOMO. It stands for North of Morrison, and there's a lot of cool breweries and restaurants here in this part of town. There's a lot of sky rises that have gone in really all along like this part of downtown. So if you're looking for more of a condo or an apartment, you can get some pretty incredible views right there off of Morrison Drive and East Bay Street. One of my favorite places, by the way, it's actually here on the map, Edmonds Oast Brewery. If you're looking for a cool spot with delicious food and drinks in the northern part of the peninsula, definitely recommend checking out Edmonds Oast. Okay, so now we're going to move on a little bit and zoom out here. I do want to point out one of the roadways that gets you through downtown Charleston, which is 17. So as you can see, 17, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, comes all the way from North Carolina and even further north than that. But then it comes across the Cooper River there on the Ravenel Bridge, which is a huge symbol of Charleston. You'll see it everywhere. It's beautiful. It takes you through this area, which we locally call the Crosstown. So the Crosstown is this part of 17 that goes through downtown. And then 17 will continue to take you over to James Island and then to Johns Island. You can also go up this way and hop right on 26 here from downtown. So that's going to be how you navigate off of the peninsula. Okay, now let's move over to the east and north of downtown, which is Mount Pleasant. Right here, this is one of the most popular suburbs of Charleston. It's where Sullivan's Island and Isle of Palms are. These are two of the most popular beaches, along with Folly Beach, which I'll get to later. There's a few other beaches as well, but these are the three main ones that are public and that most people will go to. So from downtown, you're about 20 to 30 minutes to Sullivan's Island and then Isle of Palms. And from Mount Pleasant, you're, of course, depending where you live in this area, you could be 5 minutes from one of the islands. You could be 10. If you live all the way up here, you're probably going to be a good 20 to 30 minutes from Isle of Palms. So if you are a beach going person, know that Mount Pleasant is one of the closest places you can live to be by the beach without having to actually live on one of the islands. Mount Pleasant is divided into two different areas, north and south. They're divided by this bridge right here, which is called the Isle of Palms Connector. So really like this. So this is 29464 zip code, and then this is 29466 zip code. Both Mount Pleasant, but one's south, one's north. South Mount Pleasant does have a higher price point, medium price point, but North Mount Pleasant is really catching up. There's a lot of newer construction in North Mount Pleasant that is easily 1 million, 1.5 million, even 2 million and up. So it's really driving the overall averages and median price points up in North Mount Pleasant. But Mount Pleasant is a wonderful place to live. I personally lived there for 5 years and I plan to move back one day. It's really beautiful. They keep it very well landscaped. Some historic neighborhoods and older neighborhoods mixed with newer neighborhoods. There's tons of amazing restaurants. I'd say outside of downtown, Mount Pleasant has the best restaurants, tons of shopping, and it's really close to everything because you're maybe 10 to 30 minutes from downtown, depending on which side of Mount Pleasant you're on. As I said, you're close to the beaches, and then from the airport, again, you're maybe only 20 minutes or so, which you would just hop on 526 here and go this way, and that gets you right to the airport. So it's very centrally located, which many people love in addition to all the other benefits. It also has one of the highest ranked school districts, so if you've got little kids and that's super important to you, then this would be definitely somewhere for you to consider. Now, moving along this way, along 526. So as you can see, 526 starts in Mount Pleasant and it's this semicircle that goes through Daniel Island, North Charleston, and then down here to this area called West Ashley. And then with 17, it actually does make a full circle here. So that's one of the main routes around Charleston. We have so many bridges and waterways here, so these go over a lot of the big waterways. As you can see, right here is Daniel Island. So that's in between Mount Pleasant and North Charleston here. Even though it's an island, it actually doesn't have any beaches. They do have some deep water. So if you're a boating person and you want a home with deep water, this would be a great place to look, as well as Mount Pleasant and some parts of North Charleston, even West Ashley. Because we have so much water here, there are pockets of deep water in various places around town. Daniel Island is very high-end construction. It's some of the most custom, expensive, beautiful homes that we have in the whole area. So if that's your jam, definitely check out Daniel Island. And then there's an area that I want to make sure I mentioned, which is right here, Wando, and this whole area right here is Clements Ferry Road. So as I mentioned, Daniel Island earlier is right here, but then as you continue this direction, there is also a good amount of new construction here, and you can just hop on 526 and you're going to be close to Mount Pleasant or North Charleston to the airport. So it is still a great location to consider. And Wando right here is just north of northern Mount Pleasant. So right here, you've got just tons of huge neighborhoods in Mount Pleasant. Some of the big ones are Dunes West, Park West, Carolina Park. They're just massive communities with a bunch of subsections within them. But if you keep going up here on 41, Then you just over the river here is Wando. And again, there's a lot of new homes in this area. There's not a ton of commercial or retail yet, but I do believe that's going to continue to change over the next 5 to 10 years. So this could be an area slightly off the beaten path compared to other parts of Charleston. But if you keep going from Daniel Island, you will see that we're getting over here to North Charleston. Now, as we continue to go north and west here from Daniel Island, you'll see that we're in North Charleston. So you're very close to the airport here, obviously. But North Charleston is just enormous. So you're going to have a lot of diversity here in North Charleston. Popular areas of North Charleston is this area right here called Park Circle. It's had a huge revival in the last 10 years. It's super hip, it's vintage. So therefore the prices have also gone up over recent years, but it is still a super cool place to be. You are also not far from downtown. Downtown is just right, south of here. And then Riverfront Park is right here. It's a really beautiful park, so you're very close to Riverfront Park. They do concerts and festivals and things there. You're close to the airport, so it really is a nice location. We've got some Tanger outlets right around this area. We just had a new Top Golf open here. We have the North Charleston Coliseum and Performing Arts Center, where we get our really big name concerts and the big stadium kind of concerts, as well as smaller venues as well. We get shows that pass through, Broadway shows, things like that. All kinds of cool things are happening right there. And I forgot to mention on Daniel Island, there's also a stadium, Credit One Stadium, that has some really big name concerts too, like Elton John and Dave Matthews Band. So Charleston has made its name on the map over recent years, where we're getting a lot, even more concerts than we ever did before. So some other areas of note in North Charleston, right here we have the Joint Base. This is both a Air Force and a Navy base here. We also have a Coast Guard base. It's I think right around here. So we do have a strong military presence here in Charleston. Also have another university here in Charleston called Charleston Southern right here in North Charleston. So if you're going to be here for college, then that's another place that you can check out if you want to live close by campus. Wanamaker County Park is a really nice park with big walking trails. There's a water park in the summer. We have tons of parks here in Charleston. So pretty much anywhere you live, you're going to have somewhere close, but this is one of the biggest ones here in North Charleston. Some of the most popular areas besides Park Circle that I mentioned are also right over here. Westcott Plantation, it actually has a golf course. So this is a popular neighborhood, as well as Coosaw Creek, which is right here, right next to it. Hanahan has not quite as much retail as some of the other parts of North Charleston, but they are much older, established neighborhoods. Now over here again, we have Hanahan and we have Goose Creek. There is still, grocery stores, and there are a few local spots. These are not as known for their commercial areas. They're a lot more residential, and a lot of them are older neighborhoods. There's really not new construction in either of these places. So if you're looking for established neighborhoods that are still pretty close to other places in Charleston, depending on, where you're working or what your interests are, then these could be really great places to check out. Now, going further north is this area here, Summerville. Summerville has been exploding for, the last 10, maybe even 15 years or so. But if you're looking for new construction, this is going to be one of your top places to go to get that more of a deal on the house as far as price points. You can still buy a house in Summerville for $400,000, and it's going to be brand new. Versus other parts of Charleston, you cannot even find houses in that price point. So reach out to me if this is something you're interested in, because there are, dozens and dozens and dozens of neighborhoods that are new builds here in Summerville. Summerville has its own historic district as well. So it does have this cute downtown area with restaurants and coffee shops and shopping and farmers market. So it really is its own very distinct part of the greater Charleston area. From downtown, Summerville is about 35 minutes. Ridgeville, right next to Summerville here is about 45 minutes. So, depending on how often you expect to go downtown, it could be a bit of a hike. Again, those timing quotes are without traffic, so keep that in mind. But a lot of people love Summerville because it really just has those great neighborhood feel to most of the neighborhoods. They also have those planned communities, so you can not even have to leave your neighborhood half the time because you're gonna have grocery and restaurants and all of your needs, pharmacies, everything right there in the master plan community. So if that's something you're interested in, then Summerville is going to be a great place for you. So we're going to continue our journey here, heading around the peninsula, going directly to the south/west here from Charleston is West Ashley. So this is the Ashley River, which means that this is west of the Ashley. So West Ashley is obviously super close to downtown. You have a ton of commercial stuff here. Every chain that you can imagine is in West Ashley. We've got a Whole Foods there. We also have a Whole Foods in Mount Pleasant, and same with Costco. There's 2 Costcos, one in West Ashley and one in Mount Pleasant. So if those kinds of retail places are important to you, those are going to be your closest bet as far as accessibility goes. West Ashley, also, if you keep going out this way, you have some new construction out here as well. This is Rantals right here, and just off the map here is a place called Ravenel. So those have been very rural places up until now. I mean, they still are rural, relatively speaking, but they are getting a lot more new construction. Charleston, because it's so built out and we have water everywhere, there's only so much you can do in certain directions. It's already full. So the builders are having to just push out further to the north and the east a little bit, but there's some protected forest over there. So really things are headed more this direction because there's just nowhere else to go, and there are still a lot of people moving here. So there are many directions that we can spread out in Charleston, given the landscape. So this is where things are expected. One of the areas where things are expected to spread out is this direction here, further down 17. But really, Ravenel's only about 30 minutes still from downtown. So again, without traffic, but it's really not that bad if you don't want to be in the hustle and bustle, but you still want accessibility. And it could actually be a potential place for you to look into, and your dollar go a lot further as far as the price of real estate. We have this historic district here, Plantation District is what it's called, and you have maybe heard of Magnolia Gardens or Middleton Place. These are beautiful places that I definitely recommend checking out when you're in Charleston. They have a lot of historical significance and they're just gorgeous. They do different events there as well. Cocott Interpretive Center right here is also a really beautiful park to walk around. There is no shortage of gorgeous gardens and parks here in Charleston. Now, a lot of this area is, as you can see on the map, it's green. So some of this is protected land, but some of it will probably just continue to be developed here. As you can see, this is 61 right here, and there's a lot of newer neighborhoods all in this area. As you can see, it's gray on the map, so that is what's been continued to be, pushed out on the edge of West Ashley here. It can be a popular place to live because the houses, overall speaking, are more affordable than closer into downtown and West Ashley. But even down here, you have quite a mixed bag of different types of neighborhoods, and some neighborhoods don't have HOA or things that really can make a difference in your monthly mortgage payment. So it is a very eclectic part of town. All right, now we're getting to the end of our counterclockwise tour of Charleston on Google Maps. Right here near downtown is this very popular area called James Island. This is where I currently live, and it is super popular because you are just 10 to 20 minutes away or so from downtown, depending on where on James Island you live, since it's pretty large, as you can see. But we also have Folly Beach right here. So as I mentioned earlier, you have Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, and Folly Beach. And Folly Beach is a super popular spot. It's full of surfers. There's this place called the Washout on Folly Beach. That's where the surfers like to hang out. There's a lot of bars and restaurants and retail on Folly Beach, so people love it and flock to it. There's a lot of short-term rentals also on Folly and on Isle of Palm, so it's just a fun place to be almost year-round. James Island is very established, so there is not new construction. There's one or two random ones that are, a builder will find one lot, but there's really not new neighborhoods of new construction. James Island is a super popular suburb of Charleston, and it actually, on the mailing address, it's a Charleston address. So James Island isn't actually something that you would see, on an envelope on a mailing address. It would actually be called Charleston. Same with West Ashley. It's still going to have a Charleston mailing address. Now, if you keep going from James Island over here, over the Stono River Bridge, you get to Johns Island. So Johns Island is massive and made up of different parts. So you've got Wadmalaw Island here, which is very rural, lots of farmland. And then you've got Kiowa Island down here, which is its own island. It is private, so there is one public beach before you get through the gate. But overall, it is a private island. It's a very high-end beach community. Kiowa is about 45 minutes from downtown. Now, Johns Island, it's where a lot of our local farms are, and up until about 10-15 years ago, it was pretty much just rural land with some houses, but not a lot. And because everything's pushing out further from downtown, Johns Island is now one of the most popular places for new construction. There is a ton of new construction on Johns Island, and you're still not very far from downtown, from James Island, from some of the beaches. So a lot of people love Johns Island. I will say that some of the traffic can be super bad because there's really just this one bridge. Well, actually there is another bridge right over here, but they're one lane, and so it can just get really bottlenecked. And unfortunately, they haven't really come up with a lot of solutions yet as far as combating that problem. So that's just something to be aware of. But really, anywhere in Charleston, you're going to have traffic. So you kind of just have to pick what's most important to you at the end of the day. But Johns Island, because so many people have been moving out here, there has been a lot more retail and restaurants opening up over recent years too. So you could actually be on Johns Island without having to leave the island to go out to dinner, for example, and still get a really amazing meal. So people are really loving Johns Island these days. And as I said, you can also get off this other bridge here, and it takes you right to 17. So you're really not that far from Costco either on Johns Island, or West Ashley with some of these other places that you may want to be shopping. So a lot of positive aspects. So we are winding down our tour here of a lot of the big suburbs of Charleston. I just want to point out a couple other areas that you might be interested in that are further out, but just in case, we've got Seabrook Island right here, south of Kiowa, and Edisto Island right here. Now, those are going to be more of your beach communities that are more seasonal. So they do have, of course, grocery stores and restaurants, but there is not as many year-round residents. So they really are very different than Charleston. They're really not even considered part of Charleston, but they still are in our MLS. Seabrook has a lot of golfing. It's just a quiet town. Edisto, also just a quiet beach town. So if that's your vibe, then you may want to check this out. Or if you're looking for a short-term rental, those could be some really great places to check out. And then to the north here, I want to point out a few other areas on the outskirts that could be appealing to you. We've got Moncks Corner right here that has been a popular spot as North Charleston and Summerville continue to push out further. Moncks Corner has been a happening place with more and more new construction as well. So another great place that could be in your budget. So Moncks Corner could be an awesome place to check out, and it's close to Lake Moultrie. So if you're into lake life, then go ahead and look into Moncks Corner. Some other places that have new construction would be Hugie right here. I know it looks like Huger, but it's actually Hugie. This is horse country right now is really what it's known for. But again, there's some new neighborhoods that are very nice there. So if you don't mind being a little bit on the outskirts, it could be a good place to look into. It's about 45 minutes from downtown. And then we have Allwendaw here, which is north of Mount Pleasant. So a lot of this is protected land, the Francis Marion National Forest, but there are a good amount of neighborhoods in Allwendaw, and Mount Pleasant is really spilling over into Allwendaw. So that could be a place to check out, especially if you like deep water or bigger lots. You're going to have just more of that privacy factor from compared to some other places like in Mount Pleasant without really being too far. And Allwendaw is close to McClellanville, where there is some retail shopping and commercial places that you would be able to do for your weekly shopping. I hope you found this video helpful to give you a bit of an overview for Charleston and the different areas that you might want to check out and explore when you are considering moving here. Again, if you need any support, please feel free to give me a call, a text, or an email, and I would love to connect with you. If you found this video helpful, also please subscribe and hit the bell for future notifications. Until next time, I hope to see you around town.